Episode 71 of the Thunder Underground podcast is here. My name is Trent, and I'm joined by Jason.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Right on. I'm digging it.
Digging it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm doing good because Chris Broderick is our guest.
That's really a reason to be doing good.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good one.
It only took us 70 episodes to get here.
But we did.
Yeah.
We did, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, we got one of the best guitarists in metal.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up here in a bit. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you know who that is. But if not, I'll let you know. He is the guitarist for Active Defiance. And he's also notably known for being the guitarist of Megadeth for quite a while. Before that, he was in Nevermore for quite a while. And he was also with Jag Panzer. So this guy has done his time in heavy metal.
Yeah, I mean, I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
A little
I
bit.
think so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. We're just going to talk about the fact we went to this show and we saw there was several opening bands, and it was really cool that, you know, the promoters, you know, did a good job of getting 3 area bands that were all heavy metal, but all had a different vibe to them.
Yeah, they had a different vibe, and they all had a good following, too.
Yeah.
You know, I noticed that for sure.
And first up was Even the Dogs from Tulsa.
Yes.
And we actually decided to go to the show a while back because the band invited us to come as their guest, which we thought was cool as hell.
Very grateful for that.
Yeah. So we decided to do this, and then obviously once we got there, we had the opportunity to talk to Chris, so it just made it that much more special.
Oh, yeah. It was a great evening all around.
Yeah. And we got there. We'll back up a minute. Our buddy Kevin Graham, who you all know from listening to this podcast.
That's right.
You know, he made the drive in from Arkansas and rode down there with us and went to the show with us. And we met some other people, you know, that we know from Rocklahoma and other stuff down there as well. So it was a good, fun time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, regardless of loving the bands or not, you know, it was a great time either way. Yeah.
Great time had by all. And, you know, I gotta say, go back and listen to our podcast with Eddie Green.
Oh, yeah.
Even the Dogs. And go back and listen to when we had Kevin on.
Yeah.
You gotta check those two out.
Yeah, the Kevin was a Rocklahoma preview, and there's lots of funny stuff from him on there. And the one with Eddie Green, you know, we just focused on basically Even the Dogs.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of other discussion about everything from glam bands to death metal, I think, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and now, you've seen Even the Dogs before, right?
Yeah.
This was my first time to see them live.
Okay.
And I was super impressed. I just thought they kicked ass. And I thought that, you know, people responded to them well. I really liked how, you know, Eddie, he just made his vocals just seem just easy. He made it look easy with switching between clean and heavy, and he was just a real joy to watch on the microphone. He knew what he was doing, and it was seamless.
Yeah, and he's also a great frontman regardless.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, he's one of those guys that's always communicating with the crowd between songs and getting people amped up. And, you know, there in the final couple songs, he had people making sure their hands always in the air and singing along to, you know, they're like the last song as well. He had everybody singing the chorus with him. And, you know, it's just, that's a sign of a good frontman. Whenever you can tell the people to get involved and they do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like you said, though, you know, the band itself just, they pull it off. You know, I love their stuff. You know, they had the EP a while back. They've got a couple singles they came out with in the past few months, Ghost and Optimist. And they've got a new album coming later this summer or early fall.
That's right. And
speaking of, he talks about a lot of that on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. The whole band had a great, intense vibe. They were all into it. And, I mean, you know, other than Active Defiance, I mean, this is definitely one thing I was looking forward to was these guys.
Yeah. So if you're in the Tulsa area or anywhere around, you know, I mean, they get out and play other places. Be sure and check these guys out or get online and look up Even the Dogs. They've got lyric videos for Ghost and Optimist. They've got live videos on YouTube as well. They're a great band.
Definitely.
Well, after that, Bag of Bones came up, and this was a band that neither one of us had heard before.
No,
I'd seen the name before, but didn't. That's pretty much the extent of what I knew about them, was their name, which is nothing, I guess. And So anyway, it was cool to see these guys. I always love it whenever you never heard of a band and they step out and just instantly impress you.
Oh, yeah.
They had a real, just straight up metal sound, and the vocalist was in a, totally classic 80s metal.
Yes, yeah.
That early 80s.
Classic voice.
Yeah. Like if you just take a little Halford, Bruce Dickinson, even into Saxon, all that stuff, and just kind of meld it together, he was somewhere in between all that.
Yeah, he nailed it.
And he really had a presence of him where he reminded me of like a dude that would be, if you just saw him walking down the street, I'm like, this dude's in a hardcore band or a punk band, but then he gets on stage and he's like Joey Belladonna or something.
Yeah,
so it's like,
it was great.
It was really cool to, he's got this look, but this sound, and the whole band was just great, and we talked to him a little bit after. He said they're working on music right now that they should have soon, so we're looking forward to hearing these guys.
Oh, yeah, and we'll play it, too.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And they're from Oklahoma City, so if you see them around, get out there and check them out. I promise you will not be disappointed. And then, of course, speaking of Oklahoma City, we've got Arkhon.
Ah, yes.
And this is a band we've seen before. It wasn't that long ago. We saw them open for Kill 'Em All in Tulsa. And same thing. We didn't know much about them prior to that, but they totally blew us away there. And so I was really excited to see them again, and this was no different. They just, like Andy, the guitarist, is just going off.
Oh, man, yeah.
He's just insane good.
I remember just, like, looking at you and just, like, laughing, like, damn, this guy is just insane. It was awesome.
This guy's opening up for Chris Broderick and holding his own.
Yeah, oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah. And they've just got this great, straight-up metal sound. They kind of get Slayer-ish at times.
Yeah.
But, never too much, and it's just, great riffage and just straight up metal vocals and in your face. That's what we love. In your face style metal.
Yeah, just stompy fucking stuff and just, the in your face heavy vocals. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Well, speaking of, let's play a track. We've got their song that's actually their namesake. This is called the Arkhon. That was the Arkhon from Arkhon, straight out of Oklahoma City. Like we said prior to that, just awesome riffage, awesome metal, that awesome scream that takes that thing out.
Yeah.
And just everything. I mean, these guys, we talked to Andy quite a bit at both shows, and we'd talked to the other guys as well, and everybody's extremely cool, great dudes in metal. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, I love this song. I love the when it stops and he comes in, with the Archon, it's ominous. It's just a great tune.
Yeah. And it's another one of those that can get stuck in your head.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And these guys are also opening up for Crowbar.
Yes.
So not only have we seen them twice, we're likely going to see them a third time because we don't want to miss Crowbar at Thunder Alley in Oklahoma City.
How can you miss that? That's going to be nuts.
A Saturday night in Thunder Alley.
Yeah.
And if you're from this area and you haven't been to Thunder Alley, get out there for any show. But especially Crowbar, you just can't imagine seeing the Riff Lord in a place that size.
I know.
We saw Battlecross there, and Battlecross is an intense live band, and it was just a great space for music. It's just one of those, small dive places. It sounds good, so it.
Yeah. And I mean, you hear that fucking phrase in your face. Well, it's literally in your fucking face at this venue. I mean,
right.
There's like a guitar neck in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking badass.
Yeah. And that's we hadn't mentioned that's a Tony Proctor TLP event.
Definitely.
And, I know I don't think he put on this Act of Defiance one, but he's put on several other shows like the Battlecross we mentioned. Yeah. Pretty much any of the shows you see in Oklahoma City that are at Thunder Alley or OKC City Limits and that kind of stuff, I know are him. Mm-hmm. So it's cool.
He was there. We said hi to him real quick.
Yeah. And he's the guy that he ran the Chameleon Room and Leon's Lounge. So any of those badass shows that came through. So it's awesome to have someone in the area bringing in, kick-ass bands that otherwise might not consider Oklahoma City.
Bringing in good shit. Yeah.
Like Soilwork when they came a couple years ago and you didn't go.
I know.
So to Tony, hey, next time Soilwork's in America, bring him back.
So I can see him.
Well, just so I can see him too, and then you can go, I guess. But well, what do we got? We're going to talk a little more about Act of Defiance, of course, from that show. But before we get into that, speaking of shows, we've got the Axeman Regionals.
Yes.
Which is going to actually be a 2-part event, but the first night is going to be July 9th at the Shrine in Tulsa. And this is a Murdoch production put on by Steve Murdoch. And I know it's just a competition. I don't know a whole lot of details about how it's going to work out, but if you're a guitarist, you sign up for this thing, bring your guitar. I think it said you could bring your guitar and up to 2 pedals.
Okay. And
you use their amps and obviously their sound system and everything, but I guess you just get up there and show your skills either well or
show what you're made of.
Play flamenco if you can. I mean, I don't know. Just get up there and do your thing. Besides the guitarist, there's also going to be several bands. Speaking of Even the Dogs, they're going to be out there, so you have another chance to see them. We've got Severmind, who, if you've listened to our podcast more than once, you know that we're a fan of Severmind.
Yes, definitely.
We've also got Gulch, Madewell, who we played a couple months ago.
Yeah, on the Lenny Lashley episode, yeah.
Because that's more of a punk band, and they're a great band out of Tulsa. And then we've got Crane Technique from Joplin, Missouri, who we played. We played just a couple weeks, or 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
And that's another great band. Great music. Check those guys out, and obviously check them out if you get the chance to go up to the show. And I think that this is the like kind of preliminaries, and then I don't know if I forgot to write down the date, but they're doing another show a couple weeks later for the finals on the guitar contest.
Yeah.
And the first prize is going to be a custom Jägermeister guitar and a Boss Blues driver pedal. And I guess that's being donated by the music store, and they're also giving away cash.
Gotta love cash.
If you're a guitarist, you have nothing to lose here,
That's
basically.
Right.
You have everything to gain. So get your ass out there. Sign up. Get on their page, their event page, and sign up for this thing. And if you're not a guitarist, just get out there and see Crane Technique and Severmind and Even the Dogs and all this other great stuff.
I should sign up.
You should.
I can do a little wheedle,
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should get Eric Reese to sign up.
Yeah, I know.
I'm saying it on here so
maybe it'll get out.
Guilts him into it. Yeah. Well,
I got something.
Okay.
I heard a song today, and I don't know if I'm sure you've heard it. I think it's the first time I've heard it. But I heard Is There Anybody Out There for Machine Head?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I hadn't heard it yet. And, it was on the Josta show, and they were talking about how, it's helping them kind of get through on, like, Octane, Serious Octane.
Okay.
And I just what'd you think of it? Because I can hear that. It's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little catchier. What do you think of it?
I've always liked Machine Head enough that I don't care what he does outside the box. No. It's never bothered me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I love the Burning Red when a lot of people hated it.
Yeah.
And then even Supercharger was it Supercharger? Or I'm getting confused when he had the cover of Message in a Bottle.
That was Burning Red.
Or was that on the Burning Red?
Yeah, I love that album. I don't give a shit.
So it's just like, even that Message in the Bottle, the way they played that was more along the lines of the way this song is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, they've done it before, and I don't know, it's kind of weird because he's done a great job of not reinventing himself, but bringing people back over the last 5 to 10 years. Yeah. When they came out with the Blackening and then everything since, he got all the diehard metal fans back that kind of got pissed off at him for the tracksuit and the cornrows.
The cornrows. But, he brought everyone back without just rehashing old shit.
Yeah.
And that really right there, that's the key. That's what you want to do.
Well, and he did it in a progression too, just like just a slow back build up. It wasn't just like, hey, look at me, I'm metal again. He just slowly did it and people came back because I guess you could tell that it was genuine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, I like how it's just like the kick drum and his vocals and then it kicks into that catchy chorus. I just thought I gotta talk to Trent about this today.
Hell yeah. I'm 100% on board with all Machine Head at all times.
Yeah, me too.
Well, speaking of great music, what do we got? We've got coming up in August. This was recently announced. Not recently announced. This happens every year, the Ride for Dime event.
Yeah.
But the bands are recently announced. And it's on a Saturday in August 20th. And it's going to be Corrosion Conformity headlining.
Well, that's insane right there.
And that's...
But wait, there's more.
But that's something we've talked about for months or since last year, always kind of complaining that they've had these shows kind of within our region, but it never worked out because it'd be like on a weekday in Kansas City or something or Dallas, and it just never worked out. And luckily, we finally got to see them when they came here opening for Lamb of God. But so for this to be on a Saturday, I'm 100% stoked.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, it only gets better. Whenever it's not just COC, but you have Prong and Kyng and Honky opening up.
I know. That's just insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
I mean, I'd drive to Dallas for Prong.
Yeah.
Let alone them opening up for Corrosion Conformity.
Yeah, I know.
So this is just something that, and it said it's part of the Ride for Dime event, so I guess the capper of that day, and obviously it said there's going to be a special guests. So my guess is that's something, probably Vinny. I don't know how that works. If Hell Yeah is going to show up.
Yep. Who knows? But you know what? Probably won't be Phil.
Probably won't be.
I'm just going to take a stab in the dark.
So Super Joint won't be the special guest band. And speaking of great shows.
Yeah, and again.
It's like this is kind of, I see people joking about this on Facebook every day. We have as well. It's like this year keeps kind of piling up.
Yeah. Especially
in July through October. And in October, Clutch announced their headline tour. And they've got Kyng opening up, and they've got Zakk Sabbath.
I know. Is that, what the fuck?
That just kind of came out of left field because, there's no, I'd always seen Zakk Sabbath performing in LA or whatever. And I know he's done a few festivals here and there. But it never even crossed my mind to even mutter the words, I hope I can see that one day. Because I never really thought that was an option.
It would happen, yeah.
If you weren't out there, because it's just kind of like a side deal they did for fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's never going to take that on the road. And then here we are.
And look.
He's opening for Clutch.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, that was what kind of the thing was. Oh, Clutch is coming to Oklahoma City. Well, we saw them. They'll come back to Tulsa. They always do. But then when you saw the opening bands, oh shit, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I will be there.
There's no missing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clutch is a band that you don't even have to think about it. The show's going to be badass.
Yeah.
But then when you put two bands like that opening up, it seals the deal on.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I don't care if I got to work at 5 the next morning. I'm going to get up and go.
Oh, definitely. And I think it shows Zakk's hard work. I mean, he could go on his headline thing. He could go on a Experience Hendrix and just make bank, and he's, he's taking a support slot with Zakk Sabbath. I mean, the guy does anything, and, he's not stupid.
That's true. He never has to open for anyone if he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, Black Label Society can play clubs or small theaters without a problem.
Mm.
And people are going to show up forever.
Yeah.
Even if it dwindled a little bit here or there, every once in a while, it's still going to pull a big enough crowd that he can always headline.
Yeah.
So to go out as a support act with this cover band just shows that this dude just loves to fucking play music.
I know, it's badass. And you'll get to see Blasco that used to be with Rob Zombie and then plays with Ozzy. So there you go.
Yeah. And that's cool.
Yeah.
And he's a badass too. You need to listen to his when he's been on the Josta podcast. Those are like extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Because for those of you that don't know, he's a manager and manages a lot of bands that you know.
Yeah.
And so he's got tons of insight and just cool stories.
Off the top of my head, he manages Black Veil Brides. Yeah. And it's either like Butcher Babies or In This Moment. I can't remember which one. One of those two.
I think it's In This Moment. But
and then somebody else like quite a bit heavier. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, this guy, like Trent said, go listen to his shows or his episodes of Jamie Josta podcast. You'll learn quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. And I mean, you mentioned the Hendrix experience. That's the other thing I thought was really cool about Zakk is like, I kind of get the feeling in the past year, he still did Black Label Society, but I think he might have got to a point to where he wanted to do different shit because he still did some Black Label shows last year, but he's done the Book of Shadows 2 album, and now he's doing that tour. He did the Experience Hendrix tour, which he always does. He did Unblackened last year.
Yeah.
And then now he's doing Zakk Sabbath on the road.
Yeah, he did the Ultimate Axe thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing. So he's done like 5 or 6 things outside of Black Label Society in like a year span.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's 100% active and all of it. It's all across the board, musical wise, everything from Hendrix to Black Label. And it's so you got to love it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a huge fan, it's like you got to respect that.
And then you've got Kyng opening.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I love that band.
Yeah, that's a band that I hope will kind of continue their upward climb. They've only had, 2 albums now?
2 albums, yeah.
And if you like Clutch, if you like, what?
It's that kind of, Clutch, Down,
right.
COC type kind of stuff. If that's your thing, you're going to love Kyng. I mean, it's no accident that they're opening for Clutch. I mean, it fits that whole thing. I mean, just to a T. Yeah.
And I've only seen them the one time. They played Rocklahoma last year. Yeah. And they were great.
Well, I hope they play Far Away. Just like I said last time, which they didn't, because it was probably like a 30-minute Rocklahoma set. Maybe I'll get lucky this time, because I love that song.
Well, guess what? You got 2 chances.
Yeah, we do.
The Ride for Dime and then the Clutch show.
We really do, yeah.
2 chances in a month and a half. So get your ass out to Dallas and Oklahoma City to see Kyng.
That's right.
Or if you're listening to us from Spain, when they come there, go see them there too. All right, Active Defiance. They have this album that came out last year. It's really good. If you love metal, I don't see why you wouldn't like this. We talked about this in the interview coming up. You mentioned it, that the vocals from Henry Derrick are pretty broad.
Yeah.
So even if you're not into the real heavy stuff, he's also got a great clean voice, and it's just all kinds of greatness in this thing from him. And if you're not familiar with him, he's the former singer of Scar the Martyr. It was the band that Joey Jordison started. And this band also features, obviously, Chris Broderick and Sean Drover, former members of Megadeth. And then we've got Matt one of the two guitarists of Shadows Fall playing bass.
Yes.
And so you kind of round that thing out and listen to this album. There's all kinds of obviously phenomenal guitar and drum work. And it's cool to hear, you know, Matt from Shadows Fall in this element. Like, what's that song, Obey the Fallen, with that bass intro. That's really cool as hell. And it's just, like I said, the awesome vocals. Can't say much more than that. I mean, if you like metal, like I said, I don't see why you wouldn't like this.
Oh yeah, I mean, album's called The Birth and the Burial, and it's blazing. I mean, if you're into the Slayer, Pantera, you know, that kind of thing, I mean, this is right up your fucking alley. And I mean, it needs to be out there more, and people need to get turned on to this stuff more. And, I mean, Chris Broderick just blazes all over this record. I mean, it's just insane, the things this guy does on the guitar. I think he's playing a fucking 8-string guitar at the show.
Yeah.
I mean, and he just killed it. I mean, it was nuts. And, it was just such an intense show. You know, but at the same time, they had fun. They were smiling. You know, Matt Bachand was jumping all over the place, jumping off the riser. I mean, it was awesome. So, I mean, the vocals were flawless, and it was just, I mean, it was a great show. It was just, you know, no frills, just an empty floor. They just come out in your face with the guitars and just the riffs. I mean, you can't ask for more if you love like the real heavy stuff. And, I mean, it exceeded my expectations. I would go see this band again any day.
Yeah. And, the song Poison's Dream.
Yeah.
Is probably my favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
And then they played it live, and we were standing right in front of him when he played that solo, and that solo was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then you just nailed it perfect live, and it's just unbelievable to see someone that talented that close, you know, just like watching their hands. Even if I don't play guitar, it's just mind blowing how easy he makes it look.
I know. And, you know, here's a funny thing that I thought was, you know, that was just one of those, like, you know, Saturday night, feel good, you know, we need to go out with friends and let off some steam and bang our heads and scream and just, you know, be kind of primal and just get kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed there's these two kids that were standing we were all in the barrier. And there's these two kids, probably, I don't know, 16, 17, next to Kevin. And they literally just looked like they got an F on their math test or something. They looked so fucking sad, and they were just like blank stare. And I'm like, Chris Broderick is right in front of you, like doing this amazing fucking solo. I mean, how does that not get into your soul and make you want to just scream or fucking, I mean, at least smile or something. I mean, and you're just standing here like, I don't know, like you're just watching paint dry.
Right.
Stay fucking home if you're going to do that. and I remember kind of nudging Kevin and going, what the fuck? These guys look like they just failed their fucking English test. What's their fucking problem? And he nudged him in the shoulder and tried to get him to move around. They weren't having it. It's like, what'd you guys come here for? Go home. You know, if you're not going to come here, I mean, at least smile and like fucking get into it. I don't know. I mean,
they'll probably bring me the Horizon fans or something.
I guess. I mean, I'm almost 40. I don't give a fuck. I was screaming my head off.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And you know, these fucking bumps on the log, I don't know, man. So I don't know. I thought that was just funny. And I can't understand how you wouldn't go crazy at this kind of show.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's always great, in my opinion, to see a new band on their first tour, because if you like that first album, you're going to get the majority of it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, years from now, you're never going to hear half these songs live again, because
that's right.
They'll have a couple more albums out.
And you'll remember that show you went to.
Yeah.
You know? And let me tell you something. At no time, you know, I knew who we were seeing. I know what bands these guys have been in. But at no time while we were watching them was I ever like, oh, fuck, those two guys from Megadeth. Oh, shit, that's the guy from Shadows Fall.
Right.
I mean, it was active defiance, you know.
And
fucking
that says a lot.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
It stands on its own.
Yeah. And I mean, they've got the songs to back it up. Like I said, Poison Dream and Obey the Fallen, and Dead Stare is another great one.
Yeah.
And Throwback, you know, that was the last song they played, and Henry did a good job of getting the crowd involved, even, you know, the people that might not have been familiar with them. You know, there's people there that were just there because of the fact that two guys used to be in Megadeth. But,
exactly.
You know, he got the crowd into it, and everybody there loved it, which is great.
And they did a pretty kick-ass cover of Unbroken.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounded great.
Yeah, it did.
And you can find video of that on YouTube, I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's all over the place.
Well, I walked up and talked to Matt for just a minute or two at the merch booth because, you know, he handles their merch on the road. And I just asked him if there was any chance we're ever going to get a Shadows Fall record again. And he said there's always a chance.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't obviously not going to say yes to that if it's not happening.
He would not confirm nor deny.
Right. But he just said, you know, anything's possible and there's a chance down the line, but he did say that there will be live shows next year.
That's awesome.
And I just said side of the Northeast. He said, yep. So
there you go.
Hopefully that means there will be a good chunk of Shadows Fall show. We'll at least get something here in the Midwest where we can, hey, Brian lives in St. Louis now, so maybe we'll at least get something in Missouri.
That's right. That's right.
You know, so he can play for his new friends out there. I don't know.
Hey, why not?
Right.
So stay tuned.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're a Shadows Fall fan, there's something to look forward to there. Well, like we said, Chris Broderick, you know, was cool enough to take a little bit of time out before the show to talk to us. And for about half of this, the sound check was going on outside, so just kind of bear with us through that. You can still, you know, it's kind of loud, but you can still hear his voice, so you can still hear what's going on. And the other good thing is that was even the dogs.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff regardless. Anyway, we've got this coming up now. We just get into it right now, right?
Hit it.
It was killer. Yeah. We weren't sure if we were going to be torched alive or, you know, or how people were going to perceive us, but they really, I think they got what we were trying to say, so, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, they got a lot of hardcore, but, you know, the metalheads, you know, love them too, so.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So.
Cool. And this is the first, I mean, I know you've done a lot of headline shows, but this is the first headline run, right?
No. We did our first headlining run back in November of 2015.
Okay. So is that like a conscious decision to go out and do that instead of opening for bands to start off with? Or?
No, it was just what lined up.
The way it felt? All of it, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're about a year. Has it been a year since the album came out? Because it was last.
Yeah, it was like a year from last November, okay. Yeah.
So, are you guys have a timeline on the second album?
Well, basically, you know, when we get done with this tour, that's where our next focus is going to go. Okay. The creation of this next CD. So.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Talk about like, you know, I know that you and Sean had your thing, and then you kind of got Henry and Matt. How'd you find them? How'd that come about?
Well, with Henry's was more of a deliberate search, you know. So we had made a list of like 30 different singers and vocalists, from those that were super well known to those that were like unknowns, and we were just like, you know, we kind of went through and, you know, looked at the qualities of their singing, of course. And then also the logistics of, you know, what it might be like to have them in the band, how many other bands might they be in, and stuff like that. And so by the end of that, we narrowed it down to like 5 bands, and 5 singers. And from there, we sent each of them out a demo of Legion of Lies, actually, which when Henry's came back, we just knew he was the guy that we wanted. You know, his vocal style fit what we were looking for the most. Yeah. Now, as far as Matt goes, he was, you know, it was kind of like okay, we were looking for a vocalist, and we just kept writing, Sean and myself, and we're like, let's just write. Okay, we've got all these things that we've got to do to get this band created. We weren't really too concerned with the bass at the moment because, we knew we would be able to find somebody for that spot. And when it came down to it, though, it started to get a little bit rushed. It was like, well, who are we going to get? And I didn't even know Matt played bass in any capacity. And then Sean was really one who brought Matt in and was like, yeah, he filled in for Hatebreed on the bass. And, Matt's a great guy. I'd met him many times before. Sean knew him really well. He's a hard worker. He sings well. He writes well. He plays guitar. He plays bass. It's a no-brainer, right? So we added him just in time to get him to be able to record on the CD. Yeah.
So he didn't have any writing input on the first CD?
No, not on this one, unfortunately.
I was kind of curious because I thought Dead Stare had a real Shadows Fall vibe to it, so I didn't know if that was just by chance or I guess.
By chance, yeah. Yep.
Well, on this, you're just open wide up where you can do whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, in past bands, you've had to learn stuff. I bet that was probably so freeing and stuff. It had to be.
Absolutely, and that was the whole reason for the formation of this band.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that we could have our own say and be our own musicians and be our own people. Obviously, we're coming out here, we're grinding it out, we're building it again, and that's fine because it's all about the music,
Yeah. Well, that's a great view is we'll grind it out if we have to, just to do what you want to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because at the end of the day, Sean and I could have, stayed where we were at, but it's like, if you're not on the stage playing your own music, then, at some point, it's like, why are you here, So,
Exactly.
Well, there's always kind of like a stigma with supergroups,
mm-hmm.
When you pull guys from bands that have been successful. But you guys, kind of have a sound that's not reminiscent of any of the previous members' bands.
Right.
Did you guys go into it thinking about that, or just
not really,
just coming out however it came out?
Yeah, it was. It was really the main consideration that Sean and I had when we wrote the music was that we wanted it to be heavier, and that was it. Anything else was fair game. So, any of my little classical interludes that I wanted to put in there, Sean was like, "Cool, whatever," And any of Sean's guitar work that he wanted that was slightly off center was fine, It was like the only thing we would ever have is little suggestions for each other every once in a while, and that was it.
Well, what do you think? Oh,
sorry.
I was just like, what do you think you guys got to do to get to a point where the media doesn't say Active Defiance featuring members of Megadeth, to where it's just Active Defiance?
Based on what I've seen with other past members, it's going to take a little bit, Yeah. I was actually talking with Marty Friedman about that, and he's like, man, I've been working so hard to get away from that stigma. He's like, and I finally feel like it's happening now, and I have to agree with him. It's been much, much harder than I thought it would be to break away from that labeling.
Yeah. Do you think it's just a time? I
think it is a time, because people still come up to me and they're like, hey, you're Chris Broderick of Megadeth, right? And I'm like, no, not anymore. You think when you release information on the internet that instantly everybody knows,
right?
But it's not the case.
Well, Eddie Trunk said he met a guy that said, hey, what's Slash doing nowadays? So, it's
right.
You never know. You think that people would know, but it's insane.
Right. It's absolutely the case, so.
Well, what would you? Well, first of all, I wanted to ask about your pick holders.
Yeah.
I saw that a while back, and I just thought, how did you come up with? Were you always dropping picks, or was it just?
No,
that's just a great idea.
So. Absolutely nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with my two-handed tapping stuff and wanting to freely be able to go in between picking and two-handed tapping. Also, the idea of doing fingerstyle like my classical guitar background, and intermixing that freely with the pick guitar as well. So, the problem with regular old thumb picks is that the pick itself, the part that went into the string, never felt right to me. Usually they're way too long. Then the material's a cheap plastic, so it doesn't sound that good. The angle is wrong. So I was like, how could I use the pick I really like and still be able to do all those things? And so I was like, if I made some sort of a little clip kind of holder that attached to my thumb, then that could happen. And so I started experimenting with it, and I eventually patented it, and now I produce them. So
that's a great idea.
Thanks.
And as far as I play guitar, so I got to ask a couple of, as far as speed, what's a good, for somebody who just doesn't have the speed, what's a good exercise to build all that up, you think?
Well, I heard a good quote, and I don't even remember who initially said it because I heard it from somebody who heard the quote, but it's a pretty good quote. And the quote was simply that you'll never be able to play faster than you can tremolo pick. So I would recommend doing a lot of tremolo picking ideas. And it kind of, in my mind, a really effective exercise is something that trains you exactly what you're trying to learn from the exercise. It's not just to conquer the exercise, it's to allow the exercise to show you how to play better, right? And tremolo picking exercise will do that because it cuts away a lot of the other difficulties that you might have in your left hand if you have something that's too difficult to work on. So then you can just focus on your picking. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned classical a couple times, and have you ever thought of doing a solo album?
Oh yeah.
Just classical or shredding or anything?
I've never thought about just classical, but I'm definitely gonna do a solo CD. So yeah.
Are you like instrumental, or are you gonna have vocals?
It's gonna be about 50-50, and I'm even messing around with singing on a few tracks myself. So
okay.
Yeah.
You haven't ever recorded vocals, have you? Other than
just
background?
backing.
Okay.
Yeah, just backing. But it might be time.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be good. Maybe people are like, oh my God, what's going on here, But whatever, it's, again, at this point, music's fun for me to explore. And, if people dig it, that's awesome.
Do you have stuff like sitting around for years, like as far as tracks for that?
Oh,
like
yeah.
The solo album?
Yeah, I've got actually quite a few that are in demo format.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, bringing Henry back up,
Mm-hmm.
You've worked with, obviously, legendary vocalists in metal like Mustaine and Jag Panzer.
Yeah.
Like
Harry
Never-
Conklin. And,
Yeah. Like, what do you think? Henry being relatively younger than these guys, like, what do you think he brings to this band and to the metal world?
I think he just brings more aggressiveness and uniqueness. Each of those singers is a very different type of singer,
right.
And that's good. That's what sets them apart. And so that's what we want with Henry as well.
Cool. Well, there's a lot of diversity he can do. I hear so many different voices on the record. It's great.
Yeah. And it's, it's not like out of the realm. Like, one of my favorite bands is King Diamond, and he's got, more voices. It's like, he's got like 12 personalities or something, but I love it to death, but I don't think we could get away with those extremes right there. Yeah. But I think for the styles that we fit in, Henry, he's on top of it. So,
cool. Are you guys writing while you're on the road or anything?
Or
is that not really the way you do things?
Well, you know what? I actually just recorded a riff today, a really loose riff, but it's actually more for this two-handed invention that I want to write. But that's totally, aside from this. But that's the way it happens with me when I'm practicing. I'll start working on something. I really like this. So the first thing I'll do is just record it and archive it and put it away until I have time to develop it. I don't necessarily write when I'm on so let's say I come up with a riff on the road, everything stops and I start focusing on that and I work on the next part and I create the next part and stuff like that. For me, it's like, oh, I have the initial idea. Now I'm going to put that away so I can develop it when I'm in more of a writing mode. So, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I don't want to go too far back, into other stuff, but I mean, I got to ask, do you have any kind of Big Four stories? Or I know there's that dinner at the first one.
Yeah.
That just had to be insane to be at.
It was surreal to think that, Metallica would just close out this restaurant and have all the band members just kind of go there just to powwow. And that's probably one of my fondest memories, just because it set the tone for the whole series of shows, was that, it was almost about the brotherhood of thrash,
Yeah.
And so it was such an honor to be included in that.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just, this is probably a dumb question, but say some band, big band like Megadeth, not Megadeth obviously, but some other band comes along and says, hey, we want you. Is that something you consider? Are you fully into this now to where you want to do your own thing?
I mean,
foreseeable future?
Well, it's such an open-ended question. Of course, I would always look at something like that. Anybody would have to be foolish if Kirk broke his arm and
Right.
he said, "Hey, can you fill in for me?"
Right.
I'd be like, "Sure, I would love to," But it's one of those things where I could never give up my own personal creative freedom anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Wraps it up, man. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, guys.
There you go, Chris Broderick from Active Defiance. Big time thanks to him for taking the time to do that.
Yeah.
We've said that's an honor many times, but this was truly an honor, no doubt.
Oh, it was a crazy honor, and it was kind of like, it was cool going into it. Then when you're done, you're like, holy crap, we just hung out with Chris Broderick for like 20 minutes. That was badass.
Right.
But no, I mean, super nice guy, great interview. So, just, couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah. And thank you to Liz from Earsplit PR for setting that up for us. She's been a help many times now with some other interviews as well. So
Yes.
We're always thankful to Earsplit PR. And thanks to Sean Drover for setting that up when we got there.
Yeah.
It was an honor to meet him right out the gate and kind of unexpected. So that was very cool as well.
Yeah, he kind of orchestrated it. So, thanks to him for sure.
Yeah. Well, if this is your first time listening to us, we appreciate it. We're at thethunderunderground.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and Periscope. And we're also obviously on soundcloud.com/thunder-underground. We've got 70 other episodes you can check out. We've had guys from, if you're into Chris Broderick and his Megadeth stuff, we've had Sid Falk from Overkill. I assume you're a thrash fan. You would probably dig that.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah, we've had on guys from Battlecross and Insight, Crowbar, like we mentioned earlier, Drowning Pool, Warrant, Sons of Texas, Europe. The list goes on.
Oh, man.
70 other episodes, like I said. There's tons of interviews and there's tons of episodes where we just talk about music and random stuff as well.
Yeah, just start digging back. You'll find some stuff you like.
Yeah. We've also got a great episode coming up with Scott Bond from Death Grip. And he was joined by Mike DiPetrillo of Driver, who's been on an episode before with us. He came back, kind of sat in on the interview with Scott, and they both talked about what's going on with their bands and Scott's past and everything. And that's going to be a great one coming next week because Scott had a ton of cool stuff to say.
That'll be a real good one.
Yeah, and we've also got Sam McCaslin coming up here soon. And we've got 2 or 3 others lined up that I think people are really going to dig.
Yes, they will.
I'm not going to mention until they happen. All right. Is that it?
I think that does it.
All right. Thanks for listening. Until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.